I think I explained about the handler, okay, how the handler works. In this web API template, as is a B4J server, as you can see, this is a B4J server using the server object. We need to have handler, okay? This is a server project. So from the project here, you can see you can add in the server handler, server filter or server WebSocket. Okay, and then this one minimalist controller is a controller created by me. So by default, for every JServer project, you need a handler to handle the request. Okay, let me create a simple server project, and maybe from there you can understand. Okay, let's say we create a new project using the server template. Okay, sample server. Okay, I put in on desktop. Okay, I name this project as sample server. Click OK. So from here, you see we have main, and then I guess my number. This is a WebSocket handler or WebSocket class. This is another class. For this one, guess my number. You see, this is actually a class. This is actually a handler class. From here, you can see guess my number. This guess my number class is this server handler. Okay, if you let's say you click this one server handler, let's say test handler, and you get this code. This code is similar to this one, where you see you have the initialize handler. Okay, from here you also have the initialize and handler, and inside this handler we have the declaration, the parameter for we have the parameter of servlet request and the servlet response. Okay, this one also same. You see, it require a server request and response, server response. Okay, so for the server request is we get the request from the web browser, and then read the session or parameter. We get the input from the client. Okay, and then we send the output using the response. Okay, for my template is quite similar. Okay, let's say we check the web handler. I also have, this is a handler class. I also have the initialize and handler, and then same thing, we have the server request and server response. So as you can see, I'm using the same server handler, but I made it simple that my template only have these three handler. So when you want to connect to more, let's say model or table, database table, or your list, then you only need to create controller. You don't need to create more handlers over here. Okay, all the logic will be written inside the controller, not inside the handler. So usually you won't touch the handler over here. Compared to the server project, you need to write the code inside this handler. Everything you need to set Okay, you need to write your code inside the handler class. Okay, well, why I use this controller? Because this is the concept of MVC. Okay, what is MVC? MVC is a popular pattern. Is a model view controller model. I can say is used for sorry, I have to make this bigger. Okay. Okay, MVC is a model view controller where is popular for web application. Okay, so the controller is this part. Okay, where all the logic, the application logic, you will write all the logic, business logic inside this class. You is you also can write the logic inside your handler, but let's let it alone. The routing is controlled by the API handler. Okay, you just have this default class, and then everything you just put in inside a group of controllers. This is what makes my template different is I group all my business logic or the B4X code inside controllers. Okay, basically it's just a normal class. Okay, actually it's just a standard class. It's something like this. Okay, actually the controller is similar to this class global and initialize. We also have a this one, my controller also having class globals and initialize. Okay, and then the code below for the route is how I design the template or the framework. Okay, if you are confused, then never mind, just follow me. If you have any question, you can ask why, let's say why this project or template have API handler, web handler, or app handler. Okay, for API, what I want to explain is that for this template, the API handler is the important one. Is the mandatory class that you need in this project, because this API handler is defined over here, configure handlers. Okay, for this configure handler, at least you need this one. You see, this one or this one, either this one or this one. For the web handler is optional. You can comment out. Okay, you see, this is the web route optional, and then the help route also optional. But the help route or the help handler is useful for you to debug your API without using Postman or without using any client app. Okay, but for during development, you just leave this help handler enable, so you can test it. When you run the project, you can see this page. Okay, this is your help page. Okay, and you just leave this one because this one also, this is the index page. The index page is the home page. Okay, the home page is over here. You can click this text, this name, then you come to this home page. This home page actually is optional. If you don't want to display this as a front end, is okay, because usually for web API, you use for inside your B4A apps or B4I apps. Okay, you just use the API. Just use this API, then you can get the data. Then you can read or pass it using your B4A or B4J. Okay. So come back to here. Mm, So basically you need an API handler. Uh, if I want to explain this one, the API handler, you see I declare the request and response inside the class globals, and this is the entry point. When the uh, server runs, okay, the entry when the apps access the URL like this one, okay, like just now, this API, when it read the API, it will route, okay, when it read the API, it will route uh, the API, okay, this one should be the API slash something, okay, slash the wildcard, it will redirect to the API handler. So if you come to this handler will be read, and then the request object and the response will be passed to the global variable over here. So below you can use the variable or object as a global. Okay, see you can use the response and request in other method or subroutine. Okay, after you pass the object, and then it will the web API template will call this process request based on the request method. Okay, for example, is whether it's a get request or post request or put request. Okay, from here I have this log. So every time the API is called, I will write the log over here. Okay, so you can see which route that the API is calling, the client is calling. Okay, so this is where I can see which route is going to. And then I have this method get URL element. I will read the request from the path over here. I will read this full path, and then I will separate all the item of this one with the separator using the regex regular expression to separate all the items and then put in inside an array of elements. Okay, so from here the array will determine which one is the controller element, which one is the API element, or the last element. Okay, for example, this is the last element. Okay, the rightmost is the last element having the last index. Okay, if you check this diagram over here, what is index element? controller first, second, and last. Okay, for example, this is the URL. Okay, this URL having the element is with the index 0. Okay, and then this web is the element having index 1. This is index 2, and this is index 3. Okay, this index which API version v2, version 2 of the API is having an API index 3. And then after this one, the first item is the controller. Controller usually is after the API version, so is after that is index 4. This is data is just an example. For category, it will be v2/category. So the category is having a controller of index 4. If it's let's say it's a product controller, then it will be v2/product. Okay, this can be a category or product. Okay, so and then usually we have this category slash the ID or the or we have more element after the controller. For example, okay, we come back this one. This one is the last element. If we see this one is the controller. This one is a controller, and then this one is the ID. Okay, this one categories slash ID having another index. This index is can be ID. Okay, this is key is optional. If let's say we have other things, other element, maybe is edit, we can put it over here. So the rightmost is the last index. Okay, the last index. Edit is the last element, and then the index, the number of the position of the element is the last index. This one we have a second index. If let's say we have more, then we have like third index, fourth index. Okay, if you don't have this one, then the last index will be like first index. First index will be the last index. If we don't have, let's say we don't have ID and edit this item. Let's say we only have product or category. Okay, let's say we have categories. The categories will be the controller index. The controller index 4 is the last index. Okay, it's the rightmost. I hope you understand this one. If you don't understand, maybe I will explain this more in the future. Okay. Okay, for example, this one, the controller index is the API control index. This one, how we get this one is actually from the main configure elements. Okay, from here it is automatically calculate the index for you. If let's say you have different structure of API, you see, it will depends on how your API structure, how you develop the API structure, then you have different index. So if you don't understand this one, never mind. Later we have a sample, then maybe from there you can understand. Okay, from API handler, because for this project we have categories, we have products and find, as you can see from here. Here we only have one controller because we hide. We list out the controllers only the category controllers. Okay, let's say we uncomment this one, then we can get 3 controllers. Okay, I refresh this one, then you see you can see category, product, and find controllers. Okay. Okay, as explained over here, this is the categories, products, and find. This depends on the URL. If you see this is categories, then the URL over here is categories. Okay, by default, it show category. It's not categories. Okay, by default, actually is showing like this one. Why over here it show categories? Okay, because I set the plural over here, the category controller in get categories. I set this plural keyword as categories. Okay, that's why if you appear as categories over here, if we in let's say in find, is still using find. Is by default, if you follow the name of the file, okay, the name of the controller file, you see category and product is a singular verb. Because we have added this one, then if you overwrite the name of the URL endpoint, the API endpoint. Okay, let's say I don't have this one. Okay, I delete this one. Okay, then you will see this one will have different name. Okay, I delete the plural keyword. Okay, I refresh. Then you see this one is showing category. Okay, if you click this one, it will not come here. It will not work. You see over here unknown controller, because over here in the process request we only accept categories. Okay, it won't read other than categories, products, find. It will fall to unknown controller over here. Okay, and then I have logged the controller element as category. Okay, let's say you want to handle plural and singular, then you need to add in over here. Let's say this is for to handle the category, then you need to add in another keyword category over here. Okay, let's say I run this one. So if the API calls to this URL categories or category, okay, let's say I click submit again. See, it can pass to this one. See, it can run because we handle it over here. The URL will be handle and read and pass to the element, and then we read the element array. Okay, we pass in the index of the element. Let's say the controller index is 4, then you will read the element number 4. The controller element is this one, is the element of, I think it's the 4th element. Okay, this one is 0, 1, 2, 3 4. Okay, is the index of 4 or the last index passed to the number this one is 4, the elements of position 4 pass to the controller element, and then this controller element is getting these categories of category. Then it will uh, run the code over here under this case, select case. Okay, you can run a debug and check what is the value. Okay, let's say from here I run this. Okay, this path. Then from here you can see the element 0 1 2 3 4. Okay, is a category from the URL, read from the URL. And then the number 4, this is number 4, the last, because this is the control index, is the last index, and then we can get the category. And when we use the select case, the category will be read, and then it will run the code below this. Okay, we need to set the object as a category controller class. Okay, we initialize it, we pass the request and response from this handler to the controller, the categories controller, and then we call the route API. Okay, we call the route API. This is the route API will responsible to route which method, depends on the method that we use to call the API. When we use the OK, when we use OK HTTP utils utility tool, okay, we can use methods such as get, post. Okay, get is actually is a download. Okay, you use the job dot download. This one is a get. Okay, you use the get method, or when you use the post string, then this is the post method. Okay, you also have like put string, then you will be put, or you have delete, and that job.delete, is it? Then is a delete. Okay, we can check the use the web client. Okay, if I have the client, okay, we check. Let's say we use the, do we have delete? Okay, I think it's a send data. Okay, we use the job. J is a job, HTTP job. Okay, we use the post string, put string, delete, or when it's a download, is a get. Can you see it? Okay, it's based on the method that you use in the client side or in the JavaScript side. Then it will route the which method that the client is using. Okay, in this case, it's a get method. It's using a download. Okay, over here is a get method because we call it using the web browser. Okay, it's a call method. Then we route, call this route get. When this method is responsible to manage the routing. Okay, if you just continue the debug, then you see over here. Okay, from here, if you read the version, because we can have different version of API, then You see, if you read element, the element number 3, I guess this is a version. Version is the element number 3. You get the version is v2. This is the version element v2. If let's say we have v1 or v3, then you can have different case. Okay, let's say we have a case v1 or v3, then it will come to the code under the case of version. Okay, for this case we only have version 2, so it will come over here. So in the future, if you have other version, let's say demo or staging, okay, or development version, then you can put it over here. Okay, so we continue the debug. Okay, you see the controller index is 4 because the last index is 4. So you will call this get categories, and eventually it will reach this subroutine or methods. Okay, continue. You continue to run. You see, I pass this category list. The list is a property of this category list. Pass to this response data, which is belongs to this HRM. HRM is the HTTP response message. This is a custom type that I'm used for. Okay, it's a HTTP response message, which I use a custom type or class to pass to the method, which will output as a JSON. Okay, from here, at this point, maybe I will not discuss this one, but we just go through this one. This one data will be output in the JSON as the R. If we have this one, okay, we have this one is the R element inside the JSON. Okay, so the list will pass to this one, this R key to the response data. Okay, the response code 200 will be passed to the A element. Okay, and then other like status, error, and message, this one will be handled by default by the template, okay, or by the web API utility class. Okay, you get the list and then pass into this one. And okay, are we using simple response? No, we are not using the simple response. Means if you pass the, it will run into the standard format. Okay, you will come over here, and then it will return the HRM object. Okay, you see the response data is the list that we have inside our minimal list, and then the response error, we don't have error because we successfully run this method. Okay, and then the response code is 200, okay, as we define over here. So at the end, it will pass to the response and output into our client side or the web browser. In this case, it's a web browser. Or if we're using the client app, then it will output to the client app. Okay, it will output as this format. I'm not sure whether you can follow. I try to explain how the API work. This is how the internal of the template works. Okay. Okay, I put this one back as categories. So this is how the API handler works. Okay. Okay, this one I also remove. Let's back to the original. So at the same case with products and find. Okay. When we create more controller, we need to put it over here. We need to like register the controller, and then we initialize it by passing the request and response, and then we use the route. Over here, I have the route API. We can this one we can customize. If let's say okay, we come to this category control, I can create a class called route API to route all the API, and then I also can have a route web to handle the web. Why we have two? This one is for handling the API calls. This one just for handling the get call, which means to show the web page. Okay. So if I just have this route API, then I just call the route API to call the API. In this case, I also can call this as route API. But in products, it's up to you lah. Actually, you can call this route API. Then over here, you just name this route API. Okay, then you will call this route API. Okay, because this product controller, we don't show any page. Okay. Okay, I get a question from machine. If for example, you have 10 tables in your backend, does it mean you need to have 10 controllers? Is there a way to have a generic controller to handling CRUD, for example? Actually, the number of controllers doesn't mean it need to match the number of table or the item, the model that you have. Let's say you can have 10 tables, but you want to, let's say, you have sometimes in the database, we have relation like one-to-one relation. Okay, relationship. We have one-to-one relationship. We have one-to-many. Okay, we have many-to-many relationship. So in this case, we may have one controller. Okay, we may have one controller for, let's say we have 3 tables. It's possible. Let's say, for example, I have one table called TBL sales. Okay, or you want to have underscore, it's up to you. Like for TBL sales, I can have TBL sales details. Okay, here we have 2 tables. Okay, and then what else? We have TBL, I don't know, maybe a customer. Then we have TBL customer sales. Okay, let's say this is 4 tables. Let's say in this case, let's say I think it's too big. Here, I think I have to reduce the size. Still very big. Okay. Okay, let's say this is one to many relationship. Then we have 2 tables. We can have one controller for these 2 tables. Okay, if let's say I have a sales table, customer table, and customer sales table. Here we have 3 tables. Okay, these 3 tables, when we want to generate an output for the API, okay, we have one controller. We can have one controller or 1 or 2 or 3 controllers. It's up to you. Let's say if you find you don't need the sales controller, it's okay. Or you want to have one, let's say you have one controller called, maybe the controller name is sales controller. Okay, then this sales controller actually is connected to 3 tables. Okay, the output you can write the output which is a JSON which combines, okay, 3 tables. How this is possible? I think I will explain this one when we go to the database. Currently, I'm using the minimalist. Okay, the minimalist maybe is a little bit difficult to explain. But let's say we use the SQL to join. Okay, we use SQL commands to join, let's say 3 tables. Then we may have only one controller. Okay, we can have one controller called sales controller to handle the API for all these 3 tables. So it doesn't mean that you need one controller for one table. Okay, you also can have one controller without any table. Okay, don't know whether you can understand this one. Actually, you can create a controller, but let's say for this find controller, if you see find controller, I don't have any model or any table called find. Okay, what is this find? Find is to if you run the project, this find I can get the result with the category and even the product, even it's not connected to the category table or product table. Okay, and I use this find controller. Actually, it's a routing. Okay, a class that I will route to the API. The purpose is I want to have this API endpoint confine where I can get the category data from the category table. Okay, I even let's say I don't have this category get controller or product controller, I just have the find. It's still I still can have this thing happen. It's possible. Okay, I can have this one. Let's say I don't need the category control, I can delete this one. Okay, I can delete this one. I remove it and remove the category controller. I also can remove the product controller. I can remove it and left the file controller. It's working. Okay, let's say I just remove it. Okay, I remove and then I remove this product. So here I say after I remove, I have to remove the code also. Category, you see, is dependent on this one. Let's say, okay, I left this one. Then you see I have a lot of errors already. Never mind, I just comment it at this point. Okay, and now I try to run the project. Only the file controller. Okay, I demonstrate to you. It doesn't mean that one controller have to map or link to one table or model. Okay, you see I only have file controller. Do you think I still can get the data? Yeah, the API handler will handle the URL valid keyword. Okay, because why valid keyword? We need to specify the, let's say, the name. Okay, let's say I want to get the category name. What is the category name? Do we have toys? We don't have toys, cannot find, it's empty. It's case sensitive, I think. I think we don't have this one. I think previously we test. What do we have? I don't know. Demo, is it demo? Yeah. We have one category named demo. You see, the API is still reading the category list, category item, or if let's say we have table name category, we can still pointing to the category table or model. Okay, we have different name for the controller. It's just a name actually. It doesn't matter whether you need to match the table name. Okay, for like product keyword, I think we have one product. I can't remember what is the product. Let's say I put ID 1. Okay, I get, let's say ID 1, I get the product name burger. I think in the last week I input one product called burger, and then the product code is 001. Category ID is 2. Okay, here also the keyword, if you check, is accept ID and the name. So in this case, previous case we use name, we also can put in ID. Let's say I put 1 as the value, click submit. Oh, invalid keyword value. So yeah, I think over here ID is not working. Inside the file controller, get file category. Okay, you see I only accept the name. Let's say I want to accept ID, I need to add in a case name ID. Then over here I need to respond let's say I put in error over here. ID is currently not supported. Okay, let's try this one. Okay, yeah, I see. I get the error ID is currently not supported. So it depends on the keyword. The keyword is the structure is like this: category slash keyword slash value. Okay, is the controller, and then this is the another keyword, another element, uh, the next element, and then next element. Okay, so this one is the customized element that I want to show over here. So if I don't put here, then it won't show the value over here. So this one is just to guide the user or the developer. If let's say I remove this one, okay, you see this what we get over here. You see it doesn't show the full URL format that we expect to get. So from here, we know that we need to have this kind of structure. We are passing the category. They say we need to pass the category and then slash keyword slash value. Means we need to have this category and then keyword value. Okay. This part is to for displaying this part. Okay. This one you can edit. Okay, you can edit for during the testing. You can edit this one. You can type in other like this one demo. Cannot find? Can find, then let's show demo. Okay. Hi Rainer, just joining in. I try to explain it slowly, and I hope you can send me more questions if you don't understand. If I'm going too fast, then please slow me down and type in the chat. Ask me to slow down. Okay. I think I will repeat this one every week if I have the live session. So to make you more familiar with this template. Because you see this template I have developed since version 1 is it already took I think 1 or 2 years to develop until this version, current version. So it's not easy to understand. But if you understand from, let's say you're coming from other programming language like Python, PHP, or C#, .NET, then maybe you would understand. If no, never mind, we just learn from the B4X point of view. Okay, this one I think you may understand how the list work, how the select case work. Instead of use a lot of if else, I use the select case approach, okay, to make the code more organized or more easy to read. Okay, this one ID I just delete this one. Okay, so usually how every time I use the select case, I will use the else case to handle the unhandled scenario. Okay, and sometimes I will use return to exit the select case. So you have to follow closely how the code works. You see from here we don't exit, means every code come out exit from the select case will continue execute line by line, okay, until the output will be displayed as using the response. This response will pass to the method, then the method will handle, and then will use the response.write to output the JSON format. Okay. So coming back here, okay, this is how the file controller works. Okay, we check the file controller. from top to bottom. Okay, this is the object or variable that we declare. You see, we use the request and response. Then I use this HTTP response message. This is a custom type that I use to make the response output easier to maintain. We initialize an object and then we pass the property into the type. Okay, this is make the code more organized. The objective of using a custom type is make the code more, hopefully it's more readable. Okay, if for beginner maybe it's more difficult to understand. Never mind, this you just ignore this one. We see how we can make use the template, the framework for beginning, for starting. You don't need to bother about what is this, what is the element, but I will try to explain it as simple as possible. Okay, the elements is for the URL element. Method is like the get, post, put, and delete. Version is like the v1, v2, the last index, API index. This is controlled by the template or the framework. Okay, you don't need to bother so much about this one. Okay, you just need to know the API handler when it's called, when you reach this section of code, after you have declare or define the object, you initialize it first, and then route, calling this route method over here. This is where this is the main router to determine. Over here I only use the get method. Okay, because the find controller, we are not manipulating the data, we are not inserting any data, we are not going to update the data or delete any item inside the data, because we just want to search or find the element inside the category and the product. So I only need a get, or maybe if you want, you can put in case post. If you want to use the post method, maybe in your client app you want to use post, instead of get is allowed, you can use then you can create a route post. Okay, you can create a route post. Then I also include a snippet over here to simplify, I don't know, to generate a template of the subroutine for you. But this one I'll show you when we create a controller from scratch. Okay, so just explain very fast. The entry point is the route, because when you call this one, every time the server get the request from the client, it will execute line by line, initialize and route, and then it will reach to this subroutine. You see, this is a public and where the other class can access it. I need to set this as a public, and then other method I can set it as private, so other outside method cannot access the private method. You see, over here, let's say I use the find object, I cannot see other method. I cannot see the route get or get find category because it's set as a private. The only public method that I have is the route. Okay, you can set as public, but it's no point that we set as public. And if you make the coding more, you will see a lot of a long list of public method over here. So I don't want, so I just set the only public method other than the initialize is the route method. Okay. So the route method, you check what method is used to call from the client side. From this case, we only use the get method. If let's say the client use other methods such as post or put or delete, then it will return an error, method not allowed. Okay. So in this case, the find I only allow the get method, and then when the code execute calling the route, the get method, it will call the route get method. So this is another level of calling another method. Okay, and then this route get will use to handle all the get requests. Let's say you see from here we have two API endpoint. So when the API is calling /find, this is the controller, and then /category, and then or /product, then it will check the first element, because after the find is the controller. This is a controller element, and then after the controller, the first element I call it first element. This is after that is second element. This is the third element or the last element. Okay, so the first element is the category. Then you will execute this line of code. If let's say the URL being called is /product, then we will execute this line of code. Okay, you see I will create other method to handle different scenario or different API endpoint. Okay, for this one, let's say we are calling this API, find a category by name. So if you call this find category, you see I will need to pass the second element and the third element. This is the first element, this is the second element, and this is the third element. I need to pass the name as the second element, and then the demo as the third element. So when I pass, the second element is the keyword such as name or category name. Then the third element or the last element is the value. Okay, the value is, this case is the demo. Okay, in my category model or table, I have this demo item inside. So when I pass the category or name keyword, okay, as the second element, and then the value is the demo, then I use this find all, is a built-in method in the minimalist class. This is a minimalist. Inside here we have like find all or find is passing the ID, because in this case let's say we don't know the ID, we want to use the keyword, then we use find all. Find all, we expect the key to pass in the case is a name or category name, and then the value we pass the demo. So we can have more than one, so I put the parameter as a list. So when we call it, we use an array to pass a list. The array will transform into a list and then pass to the find all method. When we find, after we find if the item exists is inside the list, then we will return, let's say it's a mesh item, then it will return the result. The result is a list, and then we can get the value over here as a list. See, it's a square bracket. Okay, this is to find more than one item. Okay, if just now we have the other controller, such as let's say we have just now let's say we have the category or categories /1 or /2, then we can use the find method. The find method, we expect an ID, and we can pass the ID and return only one item as a map. Okay, this will return a map. If let's say we want to return to the API as a list, then we need to add it back to the list before we want to display as a response data or the JSON over here. Okay, as a JSON. Okay, this one as I want to show the find controller, which is not depend on the model name or the table name. Okay, let's say if in your application you have like sales table, let's say you have a user login table, then you can create as many controller as you like. Okay, I think it's more clearer when I try to create or generate a new controller. Okay, not sure whether you can follow up to now. Okay, I explain the API handler. See, the API handler only I only have this process request to process any controllers which I want to make it as an API. Okay, next I explain all the handler first. As this template, we have three handlers. One is the API handler, which is the most important, and then I have the web handler and help handler. Both of these two are optional, but it is recommended for you to use this one during the development. Okay, the web handler is simple and easy to explain because this web handler is used as the name already explained, is for handling the web or the web page. Something like this one, this is a help handler actually. Can I run this one? Still running. If I click here, yeah, this one is the web handler, handling by the web handler. You see the index controller. Index controller is used to display the home page or the index page. So the web handler is used to handle the user interface or the front end in this case. If you don't have this one, you only can see the API. You cannot see the index page. Okay, if I go into the index controller, I have this show. Okay, the show is the public method that I use to display the website, the web page. I can call it show page. Okay, in the show page is a public method. Then over here, I can call this show page. Okay, So this is the method that I need to call in order for me to show the website. You see, I generate the HTML and then at the end, I will use this return HTML to return the HTML output to the front end. At this stage, I don't want to explain this thing. I just want to let you know that we use the web handler to display the web user interface, web front end. Okay, but even though this one is show for you to show the web page, which we use normally in web we use the get, but we also can handle the API. Even though this is not a good way or good practice, we can still use the web handler to handle the API, but the API won't have the format such as web API, web API slash v2, something like this. It won't have this one. The index controller will handle the API such as this format. Means if we use the if request.get parameter and then the keyword, meaning we are calling the API in this format. Okay, the parameter name is default and then there is a value. Okay, if it's not empty, meaning is one is not empty. If this is empty, then we will call this one. It's still showing the page, but if you put in something, a value, a non-empty value, then it will show, it will execute. Okay, you check, is it? The value is not is empty, then it will not execute this line or this line. It will just show the page. But inside this web API search, what we got? Because why we have this default is because I think because I have the JavaScript. I have this web API search JavaScript over here, and this JavaScript is actually calling calling this one. Is it? Inside my files index. Can't remember. Hold on. By right, it should not display. Well, I try to stop it and see is there any different. Okay, let's say I call this empty. That's it. With show this one. Oh, it's still calling it. I wonder why it's still reading this page. I think something is not right over here. Oh yeah, because it's calling the category. Oh yeah, it's calling a category over here. It's calling this part. So it will execute the part. By right, this one should if only if let's say I have default equals to 1, then only you should execute the part or this part, search part. Okay. By right, this one should not execute and return anything. I think this one is not handled properly. Never mind. What I use this default is just um, to return the default data. Means I return all the data inside my uh, inside my get inside my product joining with the category. No mind. What I want to say is the web handler is used to display the front end. Okay, using the show page. Okay, I get a question from machine. The current code module reading things like web controller index creates a nice establishment of what one is looking at. Can you open the file controller, please? Okay, we come back to the file controller. Which one you are talking about? Which index, which controller index are you over here? File controller is not showing any front end. Front end is something like this. Let's say I have web categories, then it's showing a web page. But for file, I don't have something like web/file. I don't have this page. So in this case, the file don't have web controller index. For file, I only have the API of API v2 file. Route subroutine. Okay. What do you mean? On the route, this is the file controller route. You mean the web API utilities or what? Controller index. The controller index is the API controller index. It's not a web API controller index. Because the file controller only has the API routing. doesn't have the, oh, you are confused with the index names. Yeah, I think it's quite confusing. During the version 1, and then I make a big change in the version 2. If you don't understand about the index, the name, you can come back to this API handler. You check this part. This part I explain what is it, what is the element controller, the index. Okay, index is the number or the position of the element. Okay, let me explain again. This is the, let's say this is the URL, the endpoint. Okay, API. Okay, let's say this is the endpoint where the, okay, something, this is the full URL. Okay, let's say this is the full URL. What is the index of each element? This one, because this is the full URL string, in order for me to get the value, to read the value, I need to separate it and then put in every item into an array called element. So each of these has their own index and name. You can ignore everything in front, this one over here, left part, and then you concentrate on the part after the version. So after the version 2, this is the controller. Everything start after the version is a controller element. And the index of the element is the index. Let's say this is a controller element, is the index is called controller index. And then after the controller, it will start with the first element and the first index. Okay, and then the following is the second element with the second index. And then if you have the third element, then it is the third index, having the third index. Let's say this is the, I don't know, is it index 3 or 4? Let's say this is the fourth index, this is the 5th, this is the 6th, and then this is 7th element, or the index is 7. Okay, in find controller, because the controller name is find, maybe you confused because inside this find controller I also have category, but in the category controller, the category is a controller, but in this find controller, the find is the controller name. Okay, if the controller is the category controllers is the controller, then is a category, the controller name is categories or category. But if the find is the controller. Okay, you see this category and the product is not the controller name. It's just a parameter or keyword that are used for this find. Is an element that are used to pass to the find controller, because I want to find the item from this list or model or table. Okay, let's say if you have other table like sales, then I find the sales from the sales table. If let's say I have orders, then you can have a find orders. Okay, maybe the find order, you have ID, with 1, 2, 3, 4. So you need to see after the version, this is the controller name. And then the rest following the controller, all these are the parameter that you pass to the controller for searching. These are just the parameter or the query that you pass to the controller. Okay. Or maybe in certain case you want to search for, let's say, a product name under a category. Then you find a product with the category ID maybe 10. Okay, means this controller you find the product and then having the category ID 10, something like product, let's say maybe something like find the query to equals to product and category ID equals to 10. If you use the parameter format, is something like this. Okay, you want to find a product where the product is having a foreign key, category ID equals to 10. Can you get it? So in my template, I don't use this kind of format because this is not a pretty format, pretty URL. Okay, I use a pretty URL format. So it will look like this one. This is a pretty URL format. If let's say you have a web blog like WordPress, then if you have this one, it will help the, okay, actually the pretty, do I spell correctly? Pretty URL with the slash format is good for SEO purpose. Okay, and then it look better or look more clean for me. Okay, instead of you are having the n symbol, n character, ampersand, and all this equal sign where you need to escape the character with a percentage 20. Okay, as I explained, this is for the query string or query parameter. But for this one, I use the element index and name to control the parameter to pass into the controller. Okay. If you cannot follow, then you can ask me later in the forum, or next week I will ask again. We come back to this again. Okay. From here, the find is a more advanced controller because it's not really querying the data from the find table. They actually the find it doesn't exist a table or model called find. It's querying or searching the data or getting the data from category and product. So this is not an actual model. Okay, it's just a controller name that I use to get the data from different table. So maybe you are confusing because I use the category name as a controller, I use the product name as a controller, and I also have another controller called find. So maybe from there you may confuse. Okay, if let's say I start from Now already 11. Maybe I take a short one. Next week we continue again. I create a quick one. I create a controller uh, from scratch. Then maybe you can see a quick one. Next week I will repeat this again. Okay. Okay. Let's say I also delete this fine controller. So now I don't have any controller. Okay. Except for the index controller. So I stop this configure controller. I don't even have this fine controller, right? I also deleted this one. So right now I don't have any controllers inside my controller except for the index controller. This one doesn't tie to any table or model. It's just used to display the home page. Okay, it means I don't have any controller routing to any API. No API, but the data is still there. So index controller, the index controller which use the get search is still searching the data, retrieving the data from my minimal list. The category and product list is still working. But if I go to the API, I cannot reach the API. Meaning this API is not working, and then the product, even the products also not working. I will get the bad request because the controller is no longer there. I already removed it. I already removed them. Okay, so I click one. Let's say from scratch now currently I don't have any controllers. What about we could create a controller from scratch? Okay, to create a controller from using the minimalist, since I have a minimalist class over here, I can make use the actually is a helper. I have this minimalist controller. If you don't have this minimalist controller, you can download it from the forum. Okay, it's a B4X library. Okay, you download this both of these files. One is the XML file, I think. So you download this file and then you put inside your additional folder in B4J. Then from there you refresh, then you can get this library. Put inside your B4J additional, then you can make use of this controller. Okay, how this work? How we create a brand new controller? You right click this one, controller group. Okay, and then you come here, add new module, class module, and then you select the minimalist controller. Okay, let's say I name this new controller as the data controller. Okay, this data controller is not yet available, so we create a new one called data controller. Okay, so it will generate all the code for you. Called data controller. You see the new controller already added over here, and this is just a template for you to use. You see some of the code are commented. This is the default. You don't see any error right now. Okay, the first index is not used. The only one that we have is the controller index. Means right now the API is having the default format. Okay, let's say how we want to add this controller. Right now we cannot use. When we come to this here we still cannot see the API over here. By right, I will have this web/data, but it's not yet available. Okay, how to make it work? We still need to make it available over here. Okay, we need to use these controllers. Let's say this is not available. We need to type in the controllers dot add, and then we need to add the name of the controller, which is data controller. If let's say you have other new controller, let's say you have in the future you have a user controller, then you can put in over here. Okay, if you have more controller, let's say sales controller or orders controller, then you put in over here. If you put in over here, meaning then you, it will available in the help handler. We still have the help handler, right? So with the help handler, we can see the controller inside the help page over here. No, over the API handler. Okay, so the new controller name is data controller. So I put in here data controller. But still, this one is not yet running. We still need to put the API handler. We need to add in a new controller over here. Okay, we need the data controller over here. Let's say I don't have this part. Okay, we do from scratch, meaning okay, let's say I put in over here case data. This is the controller name. This data is the, because the engine, the framework will read based on the name without the controller word. Okay, meaning I take the data as the name of the controller. Like index, this is the supposed to be /index. So the controller element is basically controller. No, I mean it's a data controller without the controller. Okay, let's say you have sales controller, then you need is actually remove the controller from the name of the controller, means it's your sales. Okay, in this case it's a data controller, so I remove the controller and we have the controller element as data. Okay, and then how we can add in this object is let's say I call this data as data controller. Okay, this class already added in, generated using the minimalist controller library. Okay, then we need to initialize it. Okay, we initialize it by passing a request as the first parameter, and then a response as the second parameter. Okay, and then we type in the data, press dot. The available public method is the route. Okay, that's all. So this is how we put in the data controller, the new controller, into our server application. So when we call the data API, then you will execute to this section. Okay, is it everything done? Okay, let's say you see without any errors, we already put in register the controller in the API handler, and then we also configure the controller to display in the help page. Okay, so we run it and see. Okay, so now we refresh the page, click the API. Okay, you see, I only, the web page, the help page only display a data, the name of the controller without any endpoint. Okay, so we need to go to the data controller and see what the API that we want to make it available. You see from here, I can have get, I can have post, or you want to have a put and delete, you can put it over here. Okay, let's say we click get. Okay, we want to get all the items inside a table, name data. Let's say we have a table name data. Okay, let's say we have a table name data. So inside this data, we want to add in data, we want to insert data, we want to select the data. So for the time being, I'm still want to use the minimalist for simple, because currently I don't want to use any SQL database. Okay, so in order for me to use the minimalist, I need to go to initialize minimalist. Okay, over here I need to initialize this data, this minimalist data, but this one still not yet defined. So how I want to add? Okay, over here I want to add a new minimalist. Or let's say if I don't have this line, I need to type in public data list, or whatever name you want, but I suggest it's called data list, because every minimalist I prefix with the controller or the model name or table name, and then end with the list. Okay, and then it is a minimalist, and then after that I will initialize the list over here. Okay, after that if let's say I want to save, then I put in over here also. If I don't have this part, it's still okay. Just after the server reboot, or I stop it and run the debug again, the data is not persist. This part is for persisting the data into the KVS. Okay, to make it simple, I just enable this part to persist the data. Okay, to keep the data, save the data into the KVS, key value store. Okay, after that we can do and we can create our API. Let's say we want to use a route get. Okay, from here, since my template I already have the snippet, we can use the snippet to add in the route get. Okay, route get is this one. Okay, this is the route get, then I create a route get from here. Okay, now I can uncomment this one. So when the API call the route and the method is a get method, then it will execute this route get. Okay, and then the route get, I can have the first index over here. This one is for, let's say my API is web/API/v2/data. Okay, I also have this one. Let's say this one is for getting all items. This one is for getting an item with ID. So let's say I have ID, meaning let's say I have ID 3. So I need a first index. Okay, the endpoint will look like this. So it will handle by this first index. If let's say I don't have, I only have this get data, meaning I get all the data. Okay. If you confused, never mind, you follow first. Okay, this, let's say I only start from this one, get data, and this one we do it afterwards. Okay, so I comment this one. The first the first method that I want is the get controllers. Oh no, should not do like this. Okay, I need to generate this, and then the controllers is a placeholder where I need to replace it. Okay, I press enter, then the controller will be replaced by the placeholder. But I don't want to see get data, so I want to rename it as get data. Is it okay? Or since it's conflicting, I have two methods called get data. So for the all items, I will rename it get all data. Okay, this is for getting all the items, and then I have another method called get data with the ID. So I use the get data. Okay, for this one, this is afterwards. We comment this up. For now, we need to create a new method or subroutine called get all data. So we continue to use, okay, this one is not used, so we use and comment this one. So you make it use. Okay, now we need to create this method. Using the snippet, we want to get all resources, means we want to get all data. We use this get all resources snippet and press enter. Then this is okay, you see the highlighting placeholder. Since this is a data controller, the controller name is data, we need to rename this as get data and press enter. Okay, but our method name is not get datas. Okay, the method name is get all data. Not sure whether you will feel confused or not, because this one get all data is to get all the items inside the table. Let's say data table. Okay, the plural, we don't need plural because for this one, I just want to use data, the name data for plural or singular. Never mind. We can delete this one also. Just leave it our API format as API slash data. We don't want to have this datas. Datas, this word is not meaningful. Okay, we just use data. This situation. Okay, so the plural is not required. Okay, the minimalist actually is a data list. Okay, you see the error is gone. Okay, so now we try to run. Since we already have this one, we try to run this API. Okay, we refresh this one. You see the API appear already with the name this one. If we try to run, oh, it's showing bad request. Why is showing bad request? Okay, we try to check this one. Data unknown controller data. Why? I'm calling the right one, right? Web API v2 data. Okay, we try to debug and see what's the problem now. Get, oh, supposed to run this one, right? Let's run again and see. Okay, you see, it's executed. and call the method route. The element also here, data, okay, it's fine. Okay, it's calling route get, okay, fine. Okay, maybe over here, 4 should also fine. Get all data, is it? It should be fine. Why? Oh yeah, important is the return keyword. I forgot the return keyword. You need to type in a return keyword over here. Okay, we try to run again. This is very important. We need to exit from this select case. Otherwise, it will execute the line at the bottom. Okay, we try again. See, success. And then return an empty response. Okay, actually, it's, if we call it like this, the return is in this format. Okay. Do you want me to continue? I think I continue for this one also. Let's say we want to create another one called get data, which for getting the single data. Okay. Then we need first element. First element, we need to enable this part of code. And then first index, we need this one. We also need the first element. Okay, and then we need to generate a new method called get data. Okay, using the code snippet, we use the get single resource. Okay. Okay, over here the controller we need to replace with get data. Okay, so we now generate a new method called get data. Okay, plural we don't need. The minimal list name is data list. So we use the find method under the minimal list to find the ID. Okay, then we return the item using the return response. Okay, it's either a map or a list. So, but currently, if we have this method, we still cannot see anything, meaning we still need to add an item. So in order to see the result, we need to create a method to insert the data. So we need this route. Another route for the post. Post is to use for adding a new item into the table or the list. Okay, how we use the snippet. We use a post request to generate the code. Okay, and then I type in post data, and then this one is data. Okay, this one I don't need it. Post data. Oh, here route post. Yeah, I still need a route post. Only here I only have the route get. I still need to create a route post. Route post. Okay, we use this snippet to generate the route post. So over here, this is the post data. Okay, so now we have the routing for the post also. So the post data, if let's say we calling the post method, then you will execute this post data method. Okay, over here. So you use to add an item, a new item into the list. So over here, the body, I have this format. This is maybe a bit difficult to understand. Maybe I call this key one is data underscore name, and then the value one, and then let's say what else? Data type. Okay, so you see what happened after we generate the API. Okay, right now everything is okay. We stop this one, no errors. Okay, we try to run again. So by right, we have 3 APIs created. Okay, we refresh. See, we have 3 APIs. The post API we use to add in a new item into the table or model. Okay, let's say I copy this one and paste it over here. So the key is data name and map to the value. Let's say we have value 1, then we create a item or row or record with this one. Or if you don't like this one, data underscore name or data underscore type, then you can define over here. Okay, let's say I stop it. I don't like this one. I just want a simple column name or simple field name, call name and data. Okay, I run again. So I refresh again. You say the body is like this, and then I copy over here. I see I have the key name and the type. Let's say this one value is my data 1. Value is 1001. Okay, when I submit, you call the routing, and then a new item is added. Okay, and then when we go over here to query read all the items, try to remove the debug. Okay, so when I query, I can query all the items. Okay, let's say we create the second item. This one is 2001. Click submit. Then the second item with ID 2 is added into the list. When I click submit again, I have 2 items. Okay, so for the single item API, I need to pass the ID. Okay, I need to pass the ID, let's say 1. Then I get the item of ID 1, my data 1, 1001 as the type. And then let's say I want to get the data, the second item, I need to pass the ID 2, click submit, then I get the second item. Okay, that's how it works for the API. So if you want to create like put, you want to create a put method, then you use this put. Okay, if let's say you want to have a delete method, then you use the delete resource snippet. Okay, then you will generate the method for you. Okay, let's say you have this delete data, then you need to add in over here case delete. This is a capital uppercase letter for the method. Then you can add in route delete. Okay, this one route delete is not available yet, then you need to create it. Okay, let's say code delete resource. We need the route delete. Okay, we need the route delete. Okay, route, the controller is the data. Okay, let's say we don't have this one. We have the delete, route delete, then we can route to the delete API over here. Okay, this one also don't need. So what happened to this delete data? It will delete an item. Okay, we stop this one, we run again. Okay, we refresh this page. Okay, you see we created a delete API over here. Let's say we query again. Okay, let's say you see now we have two items. Let's say I want to delete the first item. So I want to add in ID 1 over here. Then I click submit. So it's showing success. Then we query again. The item ID 1 is no longer here because we already delete the resource. Okay, I think quite a lot of things today I have explained. Currently the template is in beta version, okay, beta 4, and is using minimalist as the default class to handle your item, your model. So in the future, I will explain how we use the database such as SQLite or MySQL. So this, when we use database, is more real production, okay, more real life, I mean. So instead, for the minimalist, is for you to get started to understand how the template works. And if you don't use key value store, if you use the minimalist, it won't store the data or persist the data into the KVS. Let's say I refresh this one, you see the data list is added over here. Okay, it's just a key value pair storage system that we can use in B4X. In the future, when we discuss about the database, then I think it's more make more sense to you, I think. Okay, I think we go to this database in the future. Hopefully, hopefully you can get little understanding, but we'll come back to this in the future. Maybe next week we will see this again. But in real life, I think most of the time we will deal with database. We don't deal with this simple list. Okay, so I will skip this one and we will continue about using the database. But I think I try to use the native SQL command instead of mini ORM. Maybe after I explain the SQL method, SQL way, then only we move to the mini ORM. Okay, so next week I think we jump to the database straight away, so we can see how the framework works in real life. Okay, I think almost 3 hours. Then I see you. I try to edit this video and make it shorter in the YouTube. Okay, see you. If you have any question, you can send me the question in the forum. Okay, thanks. Good night.